Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Howdy, 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 and welcome to the SRF Weekend Warriors presented by RaceVoice here from WeatherTech Laguna Seca. I'm Austin. I'm joined by Charles Boschel with Jonathan Grabowski in the production booth. You're here live watching Apex Racing TV. And Charles, I hope you all are having a good time because I certainly am. We got about 52 cars signed up, ready to fling it around this classic 2.22 mile track, and it's going to be so much fun. How are you feeling about today's race after a very entertaining race in Homestead?
Yeah, oh man, I'm so excited, Austin. Thanks for letting me join in again. So yeah, big track, at least as far as width. So should see a lot of good side-by-side racing. Everybody should have plenty of racing room, and just gonna enjoy watching these cars fly around this massive grid.
Yeah, mass in the grid as well. I want to welcome everybody tuning in to us from the Performance Motorsports Network, which is also showing us on Great Esports Facebook as well. 3 different platforms to watch this amazing series on. And yes, last week it was an amazing show from start to finish, and I think it's going to be pretty much the same thing here. 2.2 miles track with that beautiful corkscrew, 52 cars. If you do a little bit of math, it's going to be a very packed track, and also one of the most difficult pit lanes in all of racing here at Laguna Seca. Very slow on the entry, and then off the exit, very easy to get an off track, and then you're going to have to be dealing with a penalty or cars spinning in the pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that really tight corner coming into the pits, and like you said, you have to be pretty patient on the throttle. It's really easy to get outside the white lines on the pit exit. So yeah, it's going to be one of those things that we'll have to watch during the race.
Yeah, the race is going to be very entertaining, especially with those pit stops happening. Qualifying is going on right now, and it is Felix sitting on top of the timing sheets. The only driver in the 132 with that 132.972 as we head into the corkscrew on board of Felix. And woohoo! That is the dangers of the corkscrew right there. You could have one car just spun, and if you're taking that corner just a little bit too sharply, you could be, well, having a not so good time with another car. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to go on a prediction. I don't think that will be the first time we will see that today.
I think you may be correct. And
ooh, Chris Murakami spins on the final corner. Very easy to lose the back ends of these cars, especially under slow speed, and Laguna Seca has some really easy spots to lose a Spec Racer Ford at slow speed. That final corner, one of them right there, you can see all the dirt that these cars can pack up on that inside line. If you try to do a switchback move right there, you're going to be exiting that corner in a lot of dirt. Turn 1, Andretti hairpin. It's very long. It's a very tricky corner in most of these cars. And these Spec Racer Fords, you're going to be fighting with that grip if you're trying to push this a little bit too much, as some drivers be taking that much easier than the following corner right there. It's a very fast corner. It's kind of tricky on these opening laps. You can see some drivers that have actually gone out and explored the dirt on the outside of this track as well. The rest of the track is fairly, it's challenging. This next corner I would say is the easiest corner that these drivers are going through. The hardest corner though, the most crucial corner, is this corner right here. This left-hander going up the straightaway. You're gonna have to lift off the throttle, then pound it back on there, and then dive into that apex. You gotta avoid that curve on the very inside of the track, or else you're going to be killing all the top end speed out there and risk going off the track, breaking into the carousel, and the carousel is always going to be tricky. There's dirt always there because drivers, it's very easy just to go a little bit off the track, which will bring some dirt onto the track, and then you're going to have lower grip throughout the race. But yeah, everything about Laguna Seca is tricky, and these drivers are really going to have to be on top of their games here today.
yeah, I agree. As we were looking at the car spinning in the final corner, it looks like these cars don't really like the sausage curbs very much. So obviously, you know, the apex
no
of yeah. Well, I mean, some cars can handle them better than others. This one, the Spec Racer doesn't appear like it wants any part of those. And obviously, they're everywhere, scattered on the apexes of the corners of the track. So
yeah,
the line's going to be very tight and very clean through a lot of these sections.
I don't think I saw a Spec Racer Ford car at any Oktoberfest around here. So yeah, definitely not a fan of sausages.
There you go.
So we're looking at Duda Castro tackling the famous carousel, dropping a unbelievable amount of height in just a short amount of time. It's kind of like a drop on a roller coaster.
I think I heard 5 stories, I believe, is the drop going through there. I have to go back and look at that again, but I think it's 5 stories, like a 5-story building coming off the side of that. But yeah, that corner is so much fun when you get it right, though. If you get the line right coming through there, it's just a blast to drive this track. Yeah, some of the corners are very, very tricky, but it's a very rewarding track if you get it right.
It certainly is a very rewarding track. I've driven this track in real life. When I hit that corkscrew for the first time at speed, man, I felt my stomach drop like you do in a roller coaster, which I now recently learned is what fear actually does, and it's not an actual physical thing in your body, which what I used to felt like. So for a moment, you do feel like you're like, this is not going to end well, but you got to put blind faith in the car at times, and it's just a ride, and it's certainly one of the most entertaining rides. I have a lot of history with this track on iRacing. Got my first official iRacing win here, and my first official league win here as well. So Laguna Seca, always a positive note in my virtual driver accolades.
Yeah,
we don't talk about the real life accolade here.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. This is, like I said, it's a fun track, and I always enjoy driving it when it comes up on the calendar. Now, some people don't like it, but it really helps you focus on running the proper lines on the track, because, like I said, you know, when you get to that left-handed kink, I don't know what to call it other than that. It requires the proper line, the proper braking, the proper acceleration to make it all work.
Yeah, you really have to be on top of everything. I know why people don't like this track. It's a little bit difficult to pass here, and this brings everybody into I'm going to have to really force my way to make that move on. And turn number 6, that left-hander that leads into Ray Hall Street, I don't believe actually has a name. I've on history called it Steve,
Steve.
and just because of that curb, and I'm just like, don't hit Steve, Steve the curb.
I mean,
It's
that's
just something I've talked to myself because, you know, if I hit that curb, if I give that curve a name, I will remember that curve, and it's just how I remember things. You
Yeah,
should
that's-
not listen to my Nordschleifer track guide.
I can imagine. Lots
Some
and lots
random
of
names
names.
that, thank goodness they're all in English.
Yeah.
And speaking of Nürburgring, we will go to the Nordschleifer this season, right? I
Ooh.
believe so.
That is a good question. That will be a very interesting race.
Don't ask me to do a track guide for there. Actually, no. We passed the Nordschleifer. That was in week 3 when we were not broadcasting that week. That was the New Year's race.
Oh, okay.
So thank goodness I have that fear cleared off my schedule right now.
Well, I don't sprinkle the ditch either, so that's probably good for both of us.
Well, I hope you know a little bit of French because we do have Magny Corps for the race after this.
We do, and I don't. So we'll butcher some more corner names when we get to that race.
Yeah, this is the 5th round in the SRF Weekend Warriors schedule and the Spec Racer 4 Challenge in iRacing schedule right here. We did miss 2 rounds, so there will be no drop week. So this is technically the 3rd round of the Spec Racer 4 Weekend Warriors here. Next round, we head to Long Beach, then Brands Hatch, then we go back to the pass on the road course at Phoenix, and then we head to your local track. We head to Barber, then we head over to Watkins Glen, down under for the final 2 rounds at Mount Panorama and Oran Park to finish off the season late February. So, so that little tasting of the schedule, what tracks really stand out to you?
Well, obviously, you know, being my home track, I love Barber. I love going out there and watching racing. These cars seem like they're going to be suited for that track. They're not the fastest car in the world, but they're pretty nimble. Barber's a very, very tight course because it's primarily a motorcycle track. They've expanded it to get it wide enough to put Indy cars on it. So I'll be looking forward to that. And I actually do know most of the corner names for that track. So
I don't think you know the. Now the layout that the official iRacing Championship uses is the short A version that they will be using. Though I believe Stevie might have the call on to expand that track to the full track. Though what they like to mirror the official iRacing schedule.
Sure.
Though this might be up to Stevie to increase the track to the full size. If this is my call, I'd be putting on the full size track. The other track that I'm looking forward to is Mount Panorama. I want to see these cars tackle Bathurst because I don't believe I've seen this car tackle Bathurst while on the mic. I believe I've raced in that race, and I do not have happy memories of that race. But after the race, I can tell you, it's going to be a one famous show when they all do that jump. And, you know, we usually do the results while watching the chaos. I don't think I want to do the results, and I just want everybody exploring it and enjoying it. We might even add some soundtracks. I don't know if we have a copyright-free version of Chariots of Fire laying around, but if we could find something like that, that will just be beautiful.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have any good memories of Bathurst. Every time I've raced there, has ended in heartbreak. So,
well, luckily you're in the booth with me.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have to drive it. I just get to watch it. So, we'll let somebody else tackle the mountain.
Yeah, the mountain is definitely going to be a track that a lot of these drivers are going to be either loving or hating. Either way, we're going to have a great time here on Apex Racing TV. Qualifying is currently over right now. Your 3 provisional pole sitters, well, your 3 pole sitters per class. Felix Samoas is on provisional pole, and he has pole with that 1:32.97, and it'll be starting off from pole position here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. As, yep, there it is for the Type 116 Motorsport car. They're followed by Marco Pinero of Alex Kart Racing Raptor. York Monty takes the pole for the Masters class right ahead of Chris Murakami. So the Masters race is really the race for the second row, as they are starting 3 and 4th. They're followed by Jason Green and Dudu Castro. Alex Pleva and Antonio Reese in 7th and 8th. They're followed by Kane Lasky and Steven Elson. They're followed by Rafael Galalucci and Martin Stroyus, who is starting on pole position for Spec 2. They're followed by Devin Keller, Daniel Wood, Todd Hansen, Tim Van Dormelen, Megan Overstreet, Adam Bradshaw, Jesus Rodriguez, Matthias Weiger, Simon Mayer, Michael Nelson, Eduardo Dantas, Chris Montgomery in 24th. Stevie Ray is starting in 25th, followed by Tom Gradwell, Andrea Favini, Jeff Jacobson, Jim Brewster, Kirk Newens, Aiden Campbell, Bradford Gold, Martero Trespidi, Brian D. Short, Ian Gibson, and Jeff Cantor in 36. They're followed by Philip Berry, Paul Jackson, Joshua Justice, David Swig, Bruno Conti, Graham Brownlee, Stephen Mitchell, Samuel Dick, Brad Cathcart, Andrew Love, Gary Woodbolt, and Mike Knutson in 48th place. Our final spots are Kaj Hansen, Whitney Strickland, Marcus Burkett. Whitney Strickland was the last car to put in a valid lap time. The other drivers registered for the session: Marcus Burkett, Kuzma Lesnoy, and Richard Latham at the back of our 53-car grid. Kerry Edwards signed up, but then left during qualifying, so I don't think we'll be seeing Kerry or Richard in there, but we do have 52 cars signed up and rolling on the track right now here at Laguna Seca, and this is going to be a party for sure. Especially, it might be a little bit of a tongue twister for us on these opening laps, because there's going to be a lot of action heading into the Andretti hairpin, and there might even be a little bit of chaos even before the line, with that final corner being so close to where the pace car lets off. It's all going to be on everybody's best interest to be making it through Andretti hairpin and that final corner with this big of a field in their own time. So I think they're going to be delaying the start just a little bit if Felix feels like it, but I'm expecting Felix to hit the gas as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's the smart call, right? You want to try and get that jump out of the final corner if you can. But it's going to be an interesting race. It was kind of the Felix and Marco show last week until they kind of collected each other.
It was Marco and Dudu.
Oh, it was Dudu.
Castro. It was 3 weeks in a row that 3 races in a row here on Apex Racing TV that Dudu and Marco have had it. Well, 2 races. They're hoping not to make it 3 races in a row. Marco Pinero, Dudu Castro. Last lap action in Lion Rock Park, they touched, which gave Marco Pinero the victory. And then halfway through the race at Homestead Miami Speedway, that very tight corner heading in to the infield section, that last sector, they tapped on each other as well. So a little bit of a rocky relationship between these two, but they both love to race with each other. And, you know, you give some, you take some. That pace car is taking a trip into the pit lane, and then it is all in line for Felix Simoes in that Type 116 car to take control of the lead, as Pinero tried to jump it right there, and oh, he tried to jump him, and then the house of cards falls on Pinero as Felix Simoes, he saw the jump being attempted, and then he hit the gas when he saw Pinero get onto the brakes. As we go immediately 3 wide to that fight for 3rd place, it is Jason Green and Chris Murakami on the inside of the track. Dudu Castro on the outside. Jason Green jumps up into 3rd place. Dudu Castro and Marco Pinero going side by side immediately with each other at the end of the Andretti hairpin, and they're going to still be side by side with each other as Dudu Castro up the inside, and Pinero falls another spot. Marco Pinero went from 2nd place at the start of this race, and before the line, he's dropped down to 4th, and now Marco Pinero is down to 6th place at the end of 3 turns right now. I can already see some cars just a little bit banked up in the midfield, but it's Felix Samos, George Motti, Jason Green, your top three. Chris Murakami in fourth, followed by Dudu Castro, Marco Pinero, Alex Pleva, Kane Lasky, Antonio Reis, Rafael Gallucci, Steven Elson, Markin Van Der Stris, and Devin Keller and Daniel Wood, followed by Todd Hansen, your top 15. As this is Pinero and Castro immediately going on it around the outside of the carousel of the corkscrew, and Pinero, he's made that move work, but around the outside of the following corner, Dudu Castro and Marco Pinero, man, they're battling like it's for the lead right now. And they touched again 3 weeks in a row. They make contact on the first lap. They both regain. Pinero dive bombing the car that they're trying to get around right there to stay right next to Dudu Castro, and they're going to be 3 wide entering the final quarter. This is the first lap hasn't even ended yet between these two. They're already racing like it's the final lap. Dudu Castro, Marco Pinero. Oh man, rubbing shoulders with themselves and everybody else around them as Marco Pinero and Alex Pleva bumping against each other right now. And they're still swapping a little bit of paint as they're going to try to go around the outside. And yes, they do. And Dudu Castro, when we let that shot, actually locked up. Here's the replay of the corkscrew incident as they fly through that corner. Dudu Castro getting on some brakes just a little bit early, got a little bit loose, and then goes out just a little bit wide, catching the front nose of Marco Pinero. But they both regained the track and continue on. And as we go back live, you're going to notice, where is Dudu Castro? He is down in 8th because entering the Andretti hairpin right as we switched away, he locked up and missed the corner as he dives down to the inside of Kane Lasky to try to chase down Marco Pinero up ahead of him. He's actually getting a little bit of a bump right there, so he's going to be giving him a little bit of hand, saying, hey, thanks, I'm going to try to catch Marco now, as they all fly through what I like to call Steve Curve, might be short for Stevie Ray, and up the Ray Hall straightaway and up to the carousel.
Wow, what a great battle just to start this race. It was just chaos, but those guys were fighting hard. Yeah, and sad to see they get pushed off the track because the car on the inside had to run off.
They're still there.
They're still there. They're still racing, so it's not over yet. But but you get off track, and then you got to kind of reset, refocus.
Chris Murakami early into the pits. Now he might have some suspension damage, or this might be to clear a penalty. It will be very difficult to see. I think this is because a lot of people passed Marco Pinero off the line, and that could possibly be a black flag starting procedure violation, because he passed the car ahead of him before the green flag, and he might have taken the inside line right there. Though this is a little bit difficult than on oval, because on oval they had that rule where you can't pass on the inside of the car, you can pass on the outside. Though in road racing, I've never passed a car in front of me before the green flag line, so I have really no experience on what this would be.
Yeah, I think you may be right though. When you get the green light out of iRacing, I think if you've passed the car in front of you for with the row in front of you, not side by side, I think that is a penalty. But when you see,
he definitely left before the green flag was out, and Pinero was trying to beat him around the outside, Felix, and he did get ahead of him. He got a very good jump. Felix saw that he was the one that was controlling the start line, and so big slide right there for Todd Hansen. Once he saw him get on his brakes, he then went, and then everybody went around Pinero, and I think that is why Murakami has gone to the pits. He probably asked to get his black flag clear, but it's not going to happen. As Todd Hansen, big understeer out of that final corner, and he's not the only one having a rough time with that final corner as well, as I believe behind Megan Overstreet, that was Jesus Rodriguez getting a little bit slideways out of that final corner. Let's right on board of Megan Overstreet. Up ahead of her, Adam Bradshaw, Matthias Weiger going side by side. Overstreet, she is going to find that inside line at the Andretti hairpin and sneak her way through there for 15th place.
Yeah, she didn't have a great qualifying. I think she qualified 17th, but she's working her way up the field and having a good run so far.
I think she might have been caught out by that starting incident. There were a few starting incidents. Some drivers moving up 10 spots, some drivers falling down 10 spots. Tim Van Dormalen having a rough start here today. This is Jesus Rodriguez traveling, and there goes Matthias Weiger on the inside. And I think that is a little case of too much mustard out of that corner.
I think you're right.
Maybe he caught a little bit of that dirt on the outside as he takes a smart decision and cuts across the track to avoid that apex and avoid slowing everybody down. It's not Border Matthias. And this is heading into a very tricky corner. It's very banked. Get on. Yeah, he's caught on the exit. And yeah, easy to do that. Easy mistake. So we go back live, and Dudu Castro has gone into the pit lane. Dudu Castro is in the pit lane, and on the outside, who is that getting very loose? That's the 62 of Rafael Galucci. Rafael getting loose as they're attempting to go 3 wide down the front straightaway, but Rafael going very loose. Dudu Castro is in the pit lane. There's a 267 of Devin Keller trying to make that 3 wide. Devin Keller finds his way down low, and Rafael drops down a spot as, now Mario Vanderstris is in 8th place. So this race is on its head. We have multiple drivers in the pit lane right now. Dudu Castro, Andy Campbell, Paul Jackson, Brad Carthard, Jeff Jacobson, Marco Trespidi, and Samuel Dick, all in the pit lane, as well as Stephen Mitchell, Jim Brewster, K.H. Hansen, Gary Woodwell, Andrea Favini, Bruno Conti, and Brian D. Short. All of those drivers heading into the pit lane. But the drivers that just gone in, it looks like that was for a stop and go type situation. Though there's some drivers that have been in there for 10 seconds. Our drivers already trying to go for the pit lane right here and trying to go for the biggest undercut the world has ever seen.
I think that's what I think that Castro is doing. I think he took enough fuel to finish the race. I think maybe the thought process is he can draft his way back up and make some good laps. I think the undercut worked really well at Homestead. I don't know how well it's going to work here.
It's really hard to pass here, so they are trying to utilize that clean air that they have here right now and try to just use that to their advantage, because when you're around another car here, it kind of gets a little bit tricky. And speaking of tricky, if anyone's looking at our timing tower, that you can see gaps to their class leader, not the overall leader going on, as this is Pinero and Jason Green swapping spots going on. Now it is the overall leader of Felix Silva as we got to everybody else. Half a second gap with our fight for the lead, but we are currently looking at our fight for 3rd place between Green and Pinero.
Yeah, I was watching Manny. He was, what was it? Oh, it was, sorry, I forgot the name, Morikawa. They were obviously side by side at the start of the race, but then Morikawa had to come into the pit. And so Manny's just kind of up there and just working his line. And I don't know, hey, maybe the Masters leader may challenge for the victory today.
It wouldn't be the first time that we've seen Jorg Monty in the championship fight and in the opportunity to win this race, but his current competition is down to 6th place. But Jorg Monty is one for not fuel saving and just going for it. And I think that's what he's going to try to do today. These drivers are not going to be focusing on attempting any mind games with each other up front. Their only concern is making it very cleanly, as Steven Elson has spun on top of the corkscrew and rejoins right beside the 32 of Dantas, the Brazilian.
Dantas got damage on the other side of the car, so I don't think that was because of the rejoin, but that's obviously a very treacherous place.
Well, here's what happened to Steven. He's in a line of 3, and down the rail straightaway. Car in front of him taps on the brakes. That is the lapped car, I think, of Rafael. And
so
Rafael
car
is not a lapped car, I must say. That was Rafael Galucci tapping on the brakes, so on the Rahal straight, I think saying, hey, go around, I'm not going to fight you into this corner, then misjudging the braking marker. That is the most unfortunate thing for Steven Elson and for Rafael as well, because Rafael, he pretty much gave the universal sign for, hey, pass me, don't worry about it, then unfortunately did that.
Yeah, that was not that's not the best way to do that. And so now you got to kind of wonder if he's got front end damage on the car, which is going to make things worse and not better.
Any damage on this car is worse and not better. The only damage I would say would make the car just a little bit better is this is on the old Davis ball where you can get a little bit of a bump to the rear and it kind of raises the car up, and it'll give you just a slightly bit of downforce.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you were slower than a snail on the straightaway, so you give some, you take some, and then you take a lot of that right there, as this is a beautiful move by Jesus onto the corkscrew down that ski slope of a corner, as iRacing likes to call it in their description, as this is Antonio Rees and Simon Meyer heading into the pit lane now. So yeah, drivers taking the early pit stop. Like they're giving out hotcakes in there. This is a very unique sighting here, because this is probably the earliest we've seen drivers head into the pit lane for their actual pit stop. I was expecting this to happen at Lime Rock Park, but no, Lime Rock Park, it was completely opposite. Drivers were winning till halfway in the race. It didn't happen at much in Homestead, Miami, and the other seasons here. It's just right now that drivers are really starting to entertain the idea of the super undercut. And Stevie Ray, yes, he has gone into the pit lane. So Stevie Ray, usually the catalyst for, okay, I can make it to the end, and Stevie goes in. So Stevie has gone into the pit lane, which has opened up the floodgates in the pit lane. And now, how early will these drivers head into the pit lane, or how late will they head into the pit lane now? I can definitely tell you what, the top three will not be heading to the pit lane very early. They're going to be moving that on till the end, but everybody else around them, I would say around that top 10 spot, might be entertaining the idea of pitting very early.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but if you're out in the lead, then you're basically staying out there till the car's out of gas. For everybody else now, it's just a matter of, okay, where will I come out in this pack, and will that help me or hurt me? And it's always you just never know. You get back in the pack and somebody spins or goes off tracks, rejoins, and puts you in harm's way. So it's always a gamble when you try to do that.
Cash Hansen is off the track right now, and I feel like that is just exiting the pit lane. He's been having an issue, I believe. And also, Joshua Justice has gone through the pit lane twice. There have been two drivers that have 2-second pit times, so I feel like that is for a pit lane, a penalty at that start. So that would be Chris Murakami, I think, did have to do a penalty, as well as Hansen. And this is Hansen right now through and trading up, and woo!
A little too hot
Big
coming
slide.
through there. Yep.
Too much
Lost the rear.
mustard throughout that corner. Try to hold on to it, and very difficult to hold on to these cars when you're already got that rotation going. Rear entry cars are not the most stable drift missiles out there.
This is true. I
You're
will say
talking from
that,
experience.
yeah, for sure. No, I've done my share of trying to take the rear engine and put it in the front. So I do notice that Castro's back up to P25.
It's called going in reverse, by the way.
Yeah. Unintentionally going in reverse. So it looks as if he's making up some time. So it'll be interesting to see where he's going to come once the pit cycle's over, where he's going to end up in the field.
It's all about how this race goes, but Pinero making up that spot on York Monty back into second place. It's back into the qualifying order of the top three, Samoas, Pinero, and Monty right now. But looking at the field, it's up and down of how many cars have gone into the pit lane. I would say roughly about 1/3 of the field has gone into the pits already, and now we're kind of in a lull. The only driver into the pit lane right now is Chris Montgomery, who dives in there. Speaking of diving, this is the 76 of Jesus Rodriguez trying to dive around the outside, and he carries more speed throughout the Andretti hairpin, and has to back off of that attack on Tim Van Doormallen. Ahead of him as Doormallen gets into the grass just a little bit. And yes, I just said grass on the brownest grass in the world. It's dead grass. It grows one time in the year. It's in spring. It actually looks really good. And I'm going to say this as well as Sonoma, the other desert track, as some people have called it. Look up Laguna Seca in spring and Sonoma in spring. They do run races in there. iRacing, we should get a springtime art update of these tracks, because it is beautiful and pristine.
Absolutely.
go and Google those images right now and then type in the chat like, oh, he has a point. As this is a good run up the Rahal straightaway by Antonio Reis, getting past the 944. And Antonio Reis, well, he's currently the leader out of anybody who's gone into the pit lane the farthest up of the pit runners. Chris Murakami up ahead of him did go into the pit lane. He's in 20th right now, but remember, he was only stopped for 2 seconds, so I believe that is for a stop-and-go penalty. And Murakami, ooh, he's under pressure, and Antonio Reis trying to make that move on Kurt Newlands up ahead of him. David Swig has gone into the pit lane right behind him in that 510 machine. There he is. As we drive on board of Antonio Reis looking back at Dudu Castro. Jeff Cantor, there's Dudu Castro as well. Remember, Dudu Castro has gone into the pit lane, and now this is the fight for the net lead of the race. And Castro getting onto the bumper. Antonio Reis and pushing him forward to make that move work. Just a little bit of assistance, just a little bit of a bump track. There's a car stuck on the outside right there. I'm not sure who that was. Off the exit of the Andretti corner, it's Dudu. Gets forced just a little bit wide as he's still side by side with Kurt, when he now gets past Kurt and now up into second into 22nd place.
He was just trying to get Reis to get him up, move him ahead of that car instead of it being too wide through that entire corner. It's like trying to not necessarily make a hole, but at least help them get everything sorted out.
It's trying to push the tube through the tube chute so you don't have to wait anymore.
That's right.
Little water park action for you right there. Hint, hint, wink, wink, soon to come. Hashtag soon. Hint, hint.
Yeah, so this...
I pray for the iRacing programmers who program the water physics, because apparently it moves around the track and it does follow gravity. I pray for whoever got stuck with Laguna Seca.
Yeah. Yeah, the river running through the corkscrew
is going to be nightmarish.
For sure.
Hopefully they add red flags into official sessions too, so we don't have to race through there. I can take a little bit of rain. I've done a little bit of rain around here before in real life. Too much rain though is just a little bit silly.
Well, I would say that if we're using proper weather dynamics, if this track is permanently brown, shouldn't rain here very much. So
this is true. But then
maybe,
again, there was last week where the entire coast of Los Angeles was
everything
pretty
was
much
underwater.
flooded.
Yeah.
Well, flash flood, I must say, not actually flooded. Though there were a lot of people affected by there, and there was the biggest drown out of a college football game I have ever seen. I'm not salty about this at all, because I'm a UT fan, though it was even more painful to watch. Anyway, congrats, Georgia.
Congrats, Georgia. No, you know what? No, I'm not even going to say that. As an Alabama fan, I can't say that. Roll Ties. So I'm just kind of looking at the delta.
Ooh, good move by Rodriguez and Tim. Tim's name is a tongue twister. Thank you, Tim. Van Dor Malhoun is what I've been saying it as, and Tim going to try to look down to the inside. He got into the brakes just a little bit too early to make that move on Jesus, but Jesus down to the inside and up into 13th place and defended that pretty well. Now he's going to try to focus on continuing to move forward. The net leader of the race out of the pit lane would be Antonio Reis. He's still ahead of Dudu Castro in 20th and 21st, but we got a good fight up ahead of him. This is Ian Gibson and Chris Murakami. Murakami has gone into the pit lane, but this is at the end of lap 1. So this is Murakami trying to go down the inside. Yes, he does make that move down to the inside in turn 5 and up the hill, heading into what I lovely call Stevie Ray corner. It is now for Stevie Ray. Chris Murakami up the Rahal straightaway on the back of Tom Cradwell, trying to find the inside or outside line. He wanted to go for a move, but with the Rahal straight, it kind of ebbs and flows left to right, and he forces a mistake. Tom goes deep into the corner, and Murakami says thank you very much. He does a little bit of a two-step around him and up into 16th place. But you have to think, does Murakami have to go back into the pit lane to actually stop for fuel? And how long will that be?
Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, I think he's going to have to stop again. It was like a 3-second stop. When he stopped the
2.9.
first
So
time,
I think that was a stop and go penalty.
Yeah.
Because there are other cars on lap 1 that had to make that stop, and now I do see some drivers making 2 pit stops right now, and those drivers were also on the lap 1 club.
Right. So yeah. So he's just. I mean, he's really pedaling hard, just trying to make the best of a bad situation. But he knows he's probably going to have to come in and lose another, 45 seconds or so to the lead pack.
So Antonio Rees pushing up through the field. He's the first car that has gone into the pit lane and leading that race, and he's going to look at the Spec 2 driver, Ian Gibson, up ahead of him. And, oh man, like butter, down to the inside, making that move work and putting another car between him and Dudu Castro. There's Dudu. He's got 2 more cars to work with as they head through Stevie Ray corner and up the Ray Hall straightaway. Stevie's going to be enjoying that shout out, by the way, I can tell you.
For sure. Yeah, so it's so the gap back to Reese from the leader is 44 seconds. So that's going to be really, really tight because obviously the lead pack won't have to stop for nearly as long as the guys who took the early pit entry.
And the total amount of time that you spend in the pit lane with a stop, you spent 55 seconds in the pit lane in total. And the pit lane's actually shorter than the main track because it's on the inside of the track, but it's much slower except for the exits. So the pit lane exit is going to be very key here, as this is due to Castro making the move on the 888 of Philip Berry. It's going to be very key here, the exit of this pit lane. It's tight, but there's no speed limit. That's Tom Bradwell ahead of Antonio Rees. Big lockup through Andretti hairpin, and look at that, Antonio Rees making another move. So 2 moves made by Antonio Rees as keeping Dudu Castro down in 19th place. So yeah, that pit exit is gonna be key for everybody here today. And Marco Pinero, I must say this, has been closing that gap ever so steadily to Felix ahead of him. It was 2 seconds when he went into second place. He's now 1.5 seconds behind of Felix up ahead of him. And the big point was lap 14 right there. 0.6 gained in 1 lap. And, somebody in the background, a little bit of too much mustard. I think that might be the 710 of Graham Brownlee.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's going to be very interesting once the leaders come in, where these guys cycle back out.
We're closing in on that time very soon.
Yeah, it won't be too much longer. I think we basically hit it at Homestead somewhere between 30 and 34 minutes in the race, somewhere in that neighborhood.
It was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually around 30 minutes is where the final cars usually go when they're just at empty. The main go for some people is halfway because they know they made it halfway here. They don't have to add as much fuel, and they can just add as much as they can. You got the crazy people that try to do the undercut and try to be patient with everybody else. I'm not that type of driver. I just go for it. This is Tim Vandermallen and Jesus Rodriguez. Both of them having different issues, but in the same corner. Jesus, a little bit of an oversteer, a little bit of a slide, and Tim Vandermallen, I think, lock up and understeered through that corner. So, opposite ends of the unfortunate lines here at Laguna Seca. One a little bit too much, one just not enough. As this is due to Castro, well, momentarily finding his way down to the inside of the 893 of Ian Gibson, as Philip Berry also follows him around. I think Philip Berry just saw Dudu Castro and just said, nah, fam, and just got out of the way.
Yeah, probably a good call. Dudu's very quick, obviously.
As Dudu takes a big hit of that inside curb at the corkscrew. There have been a few incidents at the corkscrew on a race weekend where a lot of the support series will take a very typical line that's happened at Barber too. You'll appreciate this reference. Around the carousel of Barber, that inside apex, people are hitting that curb so hard. The inside of the track, they're going over the curb and hitting the dirt. This has happened at Laguna Seca and Barber. They've dug a hole.
Yes.
At that track, and halfway through the race weekend, they would have to fill that hole out because cars were hitting that and bottoming out in that corner. They didn't want to have an issue. And at Barber specifically, a loader hit that hole and flipped over on an IndyCar race weekend a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I know I've been there, obviously pre-COVID.
I believe it was 2019 when it happened.
I was actually there in 2019.
And here goes our leaders into the pit lane. Samosa and Pinero racing into the pit lane. Nose tail with each other. I'm going to say advantage Pinero on that pit lane entry. He really got that braking point down, and he is entering right there with Felix. So racing the pit lane as the top 4 headed to the pits. York Monty stays out. Jason Green and Kane Lasky staying out one more time. But 1 and 2 head into the pits, and now this is the pit lane show where the crews are not animated, and you just see the cars filling up and out. We're looking at 10 seconds, 11 seconds right now, 12.02 seconds for Felix Samoas. Pinero, 14.73 seconds stopped down, and both of these are slower than Antonio Reese. And where is Antonio Reese right now? He's on the front straightaway, and yeah, there he is. But it's going to be just a little bit too late to rejoin the party. Felix Samoas has rejoined the track in 5th place, Pinero in 7th place, and here's Antonio Reese in 11th place entering turn 1 right now. So the gap it's there, but the undercut definitely did not work for Antonio Reese. Now, there have been other cars that have tried that, but it did not work for them, that undercut opportunity. This is York Monty. He's racing it till she's dry in that beautiful red lobster car, and then he's going to be heading to the pit lane. Antonio York Monty is going. I know this for a fact. He does practice his pit lane entry, and we saw what happened last week with Marco Pinero's 9-second pit stop time. You know, if you can save some fuel, you can do it, but York Monty has famously not been a fan of saving fuel, so he's just putting as much gap as he can between him and Felix. Is 22 seconds between them right now. He was about 4 seconds behind of Felix when they entered the pit lane. That was the gap. There goes Megan Overstreet. She's heading into the pit lane, and Felix goes up into 4th place. All eyes are on York Monty, the Masters leader. How much gap can you put between him and Felix, and when is he going to go? Because that pit stop for Felix, I would say it would be on the slower end, the more safer end of pitting.
Yeah, he did a 54-second pit lane time, 12-second stop. It was actually faster than Marco's. Marco's 57 seconds down pit lane with a 14.5-second stop. So it's that's kind of interesting. That's a 2.5 seconds of fuel. It kind of makes you wonder if maybe Felix short fueled at this time to see if he could stretch without having to stretch that advantage a little bit more. So we'll kind of see how that works out for him.
This is a 267. Devin Keller, and due to Castro getting away through lap traffic, Keller and Castro trying to make his way through there as there's goes you. Oh, no! Due to Castro involved in an incident as our leaders head into the pit lane right now. Monty, Green, Lasky, top 3 into the pit lane. And now, where is Felix in all of this? There he is. I think, yeah, that's him in the final corner. Monty is stopped in the pit lane. We got a car spinning right ahead of Felix. As there is Monty exiting the pits right now. And no, that was not Monty. Monty is still stopped. There he goes. York Monty, well, he's already passed by Pinero and Samoas in the fight for the lead. As Monty is going to be in 3rd place, exiting the pit lane. and everybody else around him makes it in the pit lane right now. So York Monty is staying in third place compared to the 2 leaders. So the pit lane, well, races could be made and lost right there, but Monty, he definitely went for it. 12.33 seconds stop. Jason Green, 10.75 seconds stopped right there. Rafael Gallucci has the fastest pit stop crew award right now. Remember when that used to be a thing? 9.25 seconds stopped.
That's seeming really short. I hope he.
In these cars, it is
them.
really short. Remember,
Yeah.
Panero did 9.25 as well last week at Homestead Miami Speedway.
And he made it work, I believe.
Yeah, he made it work. He made it win.
So
This is Gold and Plava, the battle for 7th place as they head through Stevie Ray Curve and up the Ray Hall straightaway. I think I'd given Stevie Ray a corner on every track that does not have a corner name, and I've just given him a corner there.
I mean, you should.
It's Stevie Ray, I know.
That's right.
He does so much for the Spec Racer Fords online and in real life that he kind of deserves one. So, Drax, if you want corner names, Stevie Ray's good corner. Just Bradford Gold. That was Bradford Gold heading into the pit lane. The last car to head into the pits. And that gives the Spec 2 lead to Devin Keller. We're looking at right now. All on his own. The nearest battle that he has is Struce in 11th place.
Yeah, 6.5 second gap back
is-
between P1 and P2.
Castro is pretty far back away from him. As we're looking up through the field, this is Megan Overstreet in a fight with Simon Mayer up ahead of her. And she's getting a good line on turn 3. Simon trying to defend on that inside line. Overstreet, she's going to try to find the overspeed on this corner, and yes, she does. Mayer defending onto the inside, Overstreet onto the outside at turn 5. It's very possible to do it. She gets onto the brakes just a little bit more, trying to find that undercut switchback opportunity, racing up into Stevie Ray corner, as she is right in that draft opportunity for Ray Hall straightaway. She gets a much better line, much cleaner through there. And there we go, down to the inside as Overstreet. She has the line, she has the speed, she's got the track position, and yes, she's got the place. Overstreet up at the 13th. Jorg Bonnie is back in the pit lane.
Oh, no.
Jorg Bonnie, your Masters
eating?
leader, has gone into the pit lane. And is this going to be a stop and go? And I feel like this might be for a... No, this is a much longer stop. This might be for a real-life situation, as he's stopped more than 10 seconds. Yeah, there it goes. 15 seconds completely. I don't see any damage on the car. So this is a head-scratching of a situation for York Monty.
That is very interesting. That timing doesn't feel like any kind of iRacing penalty for maybe a pit lane speeding violation or.
Marco Pinero has hit a little bit of an all track and has fallen down away from Felix Samoas. And this is carrying a little bit of dirt right there. And this is entering Stevie Ray corner right now. Does he hit Stevie? No, he does not hit the Stevie curve, but he does get a lot of the off track right there. And he's kept that pretty straight.
Yeah, that was a nice recovery. It's really easy to lose the rear of the car. You get wide out in that corner, and then you end up coming across the track and hitting the inside wall. But so no, he well held by him.
Well, updates to the race leaders. Felix Samoa is still in the lead of this race. Antonio Rees, now your Masters class race leader. And then it is Kelvin in 7th place. Devin Keller in that 267 leading the Spec 2 class, as Struce is right behind him in tower-wise, as Gallucci also heads into the pit lane. So multiple drivers having multiple pit lane visits here today. This is Rafael's second time into the pits. And he's actually overshot the pits. No, he's in there. Yeah, Michael Nelson right behind him, also into the pits as well. I think, yeah, 15 seconds stopped. It's keeps on going. So I think these drivers are hitting some sort of issue where they're in the pit lane for a very long amount of time. They might have picked up a little bit of damage, or they've picked up a incident penalty, but I don't think any incident penalty will last that long.
I don't think so either. I think it's just kind of an odd circumstance. Not really
Do you
sure
think they're
what
breaking
that
their
is.
suspension and getting a meatball flag?
I mean, it's possible. They have quick repair though, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
they do
so if they've
have
got a
one
quick repair,
fast
then-
repair. So
Yeah, so
unless
that
they
should be
didn't,
unless they took it during the pit stop.
yes, which is very easy to do. I'm looking for
Yep.
the iRacing chat, but there are no messages. The only thing about pit lane I see is from Bruno Conti. My place to pit is not available.
Interesting.
But he did take the start of this race. I think it's because Bruno Conti, his pit box was near the very back of the grid.
Yeah, I was going
He
to
might
say
have
is
missed
it
it.
the first one and just kind of missed it. It's easy to do, especially when you're trying to hit that 90-degree corner coming in. It is easy to just miss that first pit box.
And this is Stevie Ray and Chris Murakami side by side. Battle for third in class. Murakami dives it up onto the inside and making that move look good on Stevie. But Stevie not one to give up right now. As also shout out to Stevie Ray and RaceVoice for providing us all of the Spec Racing Forward Weekend Warriors events. RaceVoice helps power Stevie Ray and the Ray Esports events that we have here on Apex Racing TV on Tuesday nights here in America, Wednesday mornings over for those in Europe. Around, I believe around midnight in Europe. I'm not sure, but I do know that they do have a European audience that likes to tune in when they're having their morning tea and coffee, whatever their morning routine is over the pond.
So looking like we're about 2 laps to go. A white flag next time.
Yeah, white flag is getting very closer. This is Felix, well, not really panicked with the gap behind him. And Pinero, yeah, 1.6 seconds lost to Samoa's last lap. Chances are, if you're a betting man, you'd be betting that B4 and off track. You'd be right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really easy to do here, obviously, and especially in there are certain corners that just lose all your speed, and you have to reset. And
They're not pavement
back up.
jungle. This track is not a pavement jungle like other tracks around the world that have a lot of prestige to them.
yes.
Also with big hills. Swap. Sorry, I had a cough there. 20 seconds remain. Barney's waving the white flag. 1 lap to go for Felix Samoas. And he's getting a little bit of a drafting help right here. He's going to set a new fastest lap of the race. Or is he going to try to attempt that? No, he does not. But this is not the Formula Series. But he's going to try to go for it. Down to the inside. And making that move go. So, hey, if you want to go for that fastest lap opportunity, hey, you're in the draft. You're in the draft of other cars, you definitely go for it. And he's got a good, clean air advantage. Santonio Reese, your Masters leader, and he's chasing down Kane Lasky ahead of him. And Keller, your Spec 2 race leader, is sitting in 7th place behind them as they take the white flag right now. Race chasing down Lasky in that fight for 4th place, your closest fight on track. as we can
Oh,
see.
no.
I've
I heard
of,
somebody
oh, no,
call
what's
out of
happening?
fuel. I think I heard somebody call out of fuel. Engine was sputtering.
Van der Malhen? Is it Van der Malhen? I see people losing spots and getting spots. Who has gone out of fuel? But yeah, I'm guessing there is people that are struggling with fuel, but it is not for the lead of the race. Felix Samoas has got 2 corners to go. One more quarter for Felix right now to take the first win of this season for himself. The Type 116 Motorsports 31 Laguna Seca belongs to the Portugal and Felix Samoas. Pinero finishes in second. This is Kane Lasky with Antonio Reese. That fight for 4th place. Lasky on into that final corner. Reese just far enough away. He's so close, but so far away. It's not going to be right there. Kane Lasky finishes in 4th place. Antonio Reese takes the Masters win in 5th place. And this is Devin Keller taking the win for Spec 2.
That was another great race. I enjoyed that. You know, it's not as much drama.
There's still drama
end.
going on right now. Dudu Castro is going very slow. In that final section, Castro has just lost a spot to Chris Murakami. And Castro's out of fuel. Castro's out of fuel. Castro's out of fuel. Well, I'm surprised he actually got a little bit of wheel spin, but with that, he's trying to wiggle enough fuel back into the pump. And here comes Tom Gradwell. Gradwell gets him at the line. And right behind him, there comes Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray, Dudu Castro. It's going to be a nail biter for Stevie Ray. It's not going to be there for Stevie Ray. He's actually 1.3 seconds behind Dudu Castro because it was the first white line. You see it. You can see the car graveyard. Usually we would have a right fest, but honestly, we're going to have to get out the tow truck to bring these cars into the pit lane. These drivers took these cars to the limits here today, and most of these drivers as well tried to do the undercut.
Yeah, like I said, it was a great ending. You saw people taking chances on fuel, and some of them paid off, and some of them didn't.
Chances taken, rewards given, risks taken, but all eyes are on our top 3 race winners, Keller, Reese, and Felix Samoas. As here are your full race results. Felix Samoas takes the win, followed by Marco Pinero, Jason Green, Kane Lasky. Antonio Reese takes the Masters win, followed by Alex Plava, and your Spec 2 race winner, Devin Keller, Steven Ellison, Megan Overstreet, Martin Struess, York Bonnie, Daniel Wood, Jesus Rodriguez, Eduardo Dantes, Tim Vandor Malin, Chris Murakami, Tom Gradwell, Dudu Castro. Well, wished it was 1 lap sooner ending than that one. Down in 18th, he's followed by Stevie Ray, Ian Gibson, Chris Montgomery, Kuzma Lesnoy, Philip Berry, Jeff Cantor, Adam Bradshaw, Bradford Gold, Andrew Love, Andy Campbell in 28th place. Somebody's driving backwards. Rafael Gallucci, Kurt Newens, David Sligg, Stephen Mitchell, Paul Jackson, Jim Brewster, Grant Brownlee, Michael Nelson, Joshua Justice, and Gary Woodbolt. Right behind them, it is, I believe, would be Whitney Strickland in 39th place, as Jonathan Grabowski is going to find those missing graphics and put them back on your screen, as there's collisions in the corkscrew. And one more line after Gary Woodbolt would be Whitney Strickland, Simon Meyer, Andre Favini, Brad Cathcart, Tom Hansen, Matthias Weiger, Marcus Burkett, Kai Shanson, Jeff Jacobson, Mike Knutson in 48th. They're followed by Brian Short, Samuel Dick, Marco Trespidi, Bruno Conti, Richard Latham, and at the end of our 53 car grid. As chaos in the corkscrew. Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior tradition. We can watch the bumper car action as we are joined by our race winner with Charles. It is Felix.
Hey, Felix, congratulations on the win. Great race. Looked like it was kind of bump and go there for you for a bit. Talk about how it went for you.
Well, excuse me, I'm a bit under the water, so it was okay. I mean, honestly, I knew I was fast. I didn't know I could do the pole. Once I did, then the start would be very important, of course. And Panera is always also a very fast driver, but he didn't have a good start, so I could gain a good lead. I don't know what happened. He went behind, but then he started gaining time. He was faster than me, slightly faster, not much, but surely enough he was gaining. He was reeling me in. And then on the pit stop, I gained like 2 seconds on him again. Good. I was kind of lucky. And also after the pit stop, so Panero again was reeling me in, but then he kept doing small mistakes, going off track here and there. I could see on the rear mirror. And that was pretty much it. It was really intense in terms of concentration. I really had to focus, and inclusive turning off Discord so that I could keep up the pace. It was not easy. I mean, I won, yes, but I really had to focus very hard to not do any mistake.
Yeah, it was pretty much. Yeah, it was a great start and pretty much a flawless race for you. You had a great pit, and you absolutely deserved victory.
Okay, cheers, guys.
All right, hey, anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, of course, as always, everyone that takes part in the races, that makes this Weekend Warriors community such a fun place to be. And Steve, of course, for organizing the league, you guys in the commentary booth. And also a shout out to Jörg Money and Jason Green and Chris, because we are all together in the Discord and we all help out each other. And it was thanks to Jörg that I got the pole position anyways. So yeah, that's it.
All right, Felix, congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
That was Felix Mosa, and joining us now is our Masters class victor of Antonio Rees. Antonio, how was that race for you out there, and how you feeling after that?
Hey guys, nice to see you again. I didn't see you for a long time, so
Yeah, it's
nice
glad to see you. Too.
yeah, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a Portugal day today. 2 Portuguese drivers took first place here. Felix with the overall and you in the Masters. So how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it seems to be we have to open a champagne bottle. Yeah, actually I didn't deserve to win. It should be money, guard money. But I don't know, something happened with him, penalty, and then I just got his position, but anyway, I didn't deserve the win. So I dedicate this win to him anyway.
Well, victory in your name is still what we're going to go off of. You went into the pits on lap 7. One of the few drivers, a few of the drivers went into the pits on the first 10 laps. You did a very outstanding undercut, and I believe the first driver, the winner of the undercuts. You were the first driver to head into the pit lane, and you finished out of the first drivers to head into the pit lane. So was it your strategy entering this race to undercut the entire field?
Not at all. My idea was just like, because I was all by myself on the track with no draft, so I was not gaining anything, so I decided to pit just for that reason. Nothing. No plan to undercut.
No plan entering the race, you just did it because you felt like it?
Yeah, I felt like I was alone. The guy in front of me was like 3 seconds ahead, and the guys behind was another 3 seconds behind. So I was on the nowhere land, so I decided, okay, why not to pit? And then, well, let's go for the pit and let's try to see what's going to happen. And then, yeah, it was just like that.
So you take the win with the undercut because you were bored. Well, I can tell you, if something deserves a champagne bottle,
All right.
it certainly is that.
You got it. You got
right
it.
there.
You got it right. Yeah.
Well, Antonio, the bored wonder, as I'm going to have to say for
Boring
you right
winner.
there. Before we let you go to go celebrate this and crack open that champagne bottle, anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to Steve Ray and you guys on the booth, and for all the drivers, of course, and all the people watching, and the sponsors, the RaceVoice, yeah, and to my family. That's all.
And we thank you for all of the action you gave us out there on today. It was certainly fun watching you dice it up with everybody up through the field on your race.
Thank you guys for covering us.
Thank you. And over to Charles. Charles, any final words you have with us to end out our day?
Oh, wow. So another great race. This is, I'm starting to really enjoy this series. The racing is fantastic. It's really tight battles up and down the field. People taking chances, and it's just been really fun to watch, and I'm just having a ball doing it.
And I'm going to say you're going to have another ball. We stay in California next week as we head over to Long Beach and that beautiful street circuit. It's going to be a lot of fun here on Apex Racing TV. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here either on YouTube, Facebook, or watching us on TV. We hope y'all had a very fantastic time with us. I've been joined by Charles Boschel with Jonathan Grabowski in the production booth, and I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.
Woo!